Before you say a word, before you even take a step, before you make eye contact with someone, your energy has already spoken. It has already introduced you, defined you, and set the tone for how others will perceive you. This is not some mystical idea. It is a reality rooted in human nature. People, especially men, are wired to pick up on energy. They can sense confidence, strength, and certainty just as easily as they can detect insecurity, fear, and doubt. It happens on a subconscious level, an instinctual response that guides how they interact with you. When you walk into a room, the way you carry yourself tells a story. Your posture, your facial expressions, the way your eyes move, the way you breathe. It all sends out signals. If you hesitate when you move, if your shoulders slouch, if your eyes dart around nervously, if your voice is weak or uncertain, these small details create a collective message that says, I am unsure of myself. And once that message is sent, others respond accordingly. Some will overlook you, some will dismiss you, some will take advantage of you. Men in particular are wired to respond to strength, not necessarily physical strength, but inner strength, mental, emotional, and spiritual fortitude. They respect people who project certainty, who exude confidence without arrogance, who seem unshaken by external forces. When a person carries themselves with poise, with an unshakable energy that says, I belong here, others naturally acknowledge that presence. But when a person carries themselves with uncertainty, self-doubt, or hesitation, they send an entirely different message, one that invites others to overlook them, take them for granted, or even challenge their worth. Think about a time when you saw someone enter a room and immediately command attention without saying a word. What was it about them? Was it their looks alone? Or was it the way they walked, the way they held themselves, the way they moved with an air of quiet confidence? People who exude strong energy don't need to seek validation. They don't need to prove themselves or beg for acknowledgement. They own the space they enter. On the flip side, think about someone who walks in and immediately looks uncomfortable. Their energy is uncertain. They look around too much, as if seeking approval. Their movements seem hesitant. They may even smile nervously or try too hard to seem likable. That energy is felt by everyone around them, and the response is immediate. People dismiss them, ignore them, or treat them as insignificant. Not because they are insignificant, but because they project that belief about themselves. It's important to understand that your energy isn't something you can fake for long. You can try to stand taller, speak louder, or force a confident smile, but if deep down you carry uncertainty, fear, or a lack of self-worth, it will show. It will reveal itself in the small moments when you break eye contact too quickly, when your voice wavers, when you hesitate before making a decision, when you over-explain yourself, or when you allow others to interrupt you without standing your ground. These moments may seem minor, but collectively they shape how people see you, and more importantly, how they treat you. Weakness is not about physical strength. It's about how much control you have over yourself. If you are emotionally unstable, easily shaken by other people's opinions, or desperate for approval, that weakness becomes visible. You may not say, I feel unworthy, but your energy will say it for you. And men, especially those with strong dominant personalities, can sense it instantly. They can tell when you are unsure of yourself, and some will use that to their advantage. They may test your boundaries, manipulate your emotions, or dismiss your presence altogether. Now, this is not about living in fear of how others perceive you. This is about understanding that the energy you put out will always dictate how people respond to you. If you want to be respected, you must first respect yourself. If you want to be valued, you must first value yourself. And if you want to stop being treated as weak, you must stop feeling weak. That transformation does not happen through external validation. Your mind is the starting point. If you walk into a situation thinking, I hope they like me, I hope I don't mess up, or I'm not sure if I belong here, you have already lost. You have already set the tone for how others will treat you. But if you walk into that same situation thinking, I am worthy, I have nothing to prove, or I am in control of my presence, the energy shifts. You project confidence not because you are pretending, but because you believe it. And when you believe it, others will too. People do not treat you based on who you are. They treat you based on how you present yourself. If you present yourself as someone who is unsure, hesitant, or desperate for approval, you invite people to take you lightly. But if you present yourself as someone who knows their worth, who moves with confidence, who does not need validation from anyone, that presence is felt. And that is the energy that commands respect. This is why it is crucial to become self-aware. Start observing yourself. How do you carry yourself when you walk into a room? Do you look around nervously, or do you walk with purpose? Do you speak hesitantly, or do you let your words flow with certainty? Do you apologize unnecessarily, or do you stand firm in what you say? Do you over-explain yourself, or do you let your presence do the talking? These small habits, these subtle behaviors are what dictate whether you come across as strong or weak. Your energy is your introduction. It is what people pick up on before they even know your name. It is what tells them whether to respect you, dismiss you, or take advantage of you. And the best part, you have full control over it. The way you see yourself, the way you think about yourself, the way you carry yourself, it all starts from within. The moment you change your mindset, the moment you start believing in your own worth, is the moment the world starts believing in it too. Every person carries a certain energy with them, a presence that either draws people in or pushes them away. When you walk through life carrying emotional wounds, unresolved pain, or a deep sense of insecurity, people can sense it. It doesn't matter how well you try to hide it, how much you smile, or how much you pretend to be unaffected. Your energy will always reveal the truth. And the truth is, emotional weakness repels the right people. The energy you carry is like an invisible force field. When you are emotionally strong, when you are confident in who you are, when you have processed your pain instead of allowing it to define you, you emit a frequency that attracts respect, admiration, and even love. But when you are consumed by past hurts, when you are uncertain about your worth, when you constantly seek validation, you emit a completely different frequency. One that tells the world you are fragile, that you are desperate, that you are easily influenced. And that energy does not go unnoticed. People, especially men, are wired to pick up on this energy instinctually. They can tell when someone is emotionally stable and when someone is struggling internally. They can sense desperation, neediness, and a lack of self-worth. And when they do, their response is automatic. The strong ones will distance themselves. The ones with integrity will recognize that you are not in a place to receive the respect and treatment you deserve. But then there are those who will take advantage of that weakness. They will see it as an opportunity to manipulate, to use, to control. And when that happens, you may find yourself stuck in cycles of toxic relationships, constantly questioning why people treat you poorly or why you feel like you are always chasing love, affection, or approval. When someone carries emotional wounds without addressing them, it becomes a pattern in their life. If you have been hurt before, by a partner, by a friend, by family, it is natural to feel pain. But when you allow that pain to linger, when you hold on to it instead of healing it, you begin to see the world through the lens of that hurt. You expect others to reject you, so you act accordingly. You assume that people will abandon you, so you cling too tightly. You fear being unloved, so you overcompensate, trying to prove your worth instead of knowing it. And in doing so, you reinforce the very cycle you are trying to escape. Men respect certainty. They are drawn to those who carry themselves with confidence, who do not need to beg for attention, who do not crumble at the first sign of difficulty. They are not attracted to desperation, to insecurity, to someone who constantly needs reassurance. This does not mean you should suppress your emotions or pretend to be unbothered. It means you must develop the strength to process your emotions in a way that does not make you appear fragile. It means understanding that being emotionally strong is not about being emotionless. It is about mastering your emotions rather than being controlled by them. Many people believe that if they just find the right person, if they just meet someone who truly understands them, their emotional struggles will disappear. But that is not how it works. You do not heal by being loved by someone else. You heal by learning to love yourself first. Because the moment you depend on another person to validate you, to heal your wounds, to prove your worth, you are giving away your power. You are making your emotional stability dependent on external factors. And that in itself is a form of weakness. Think about the way people treat those who are emotionally secure. When someone walks into a room with unshakable confidence, when they do not need approval from others, when they move through life knowing their worth, they command respect without even asking for it. They do not have to explain themselves. They do not have to convince anyone of their value. Their presence alone is enough. And because they do not seek validation, they naturally attract people who respect them, who admire their strength, who want to be around them, not because they are desperate for attention, but because their energy is powerful. Now compare that to someone who constantly doubts themselves, someone who is afraid of being abandoned, someone who needs constant reassurance. That energy is exhausting. It is draining. And eventually people pull away, not necessarily because they are bad people, but because that kind of emotional fragility creates pressure. No one wants to be responsible for someone else's self-worth. No one wants to feel like they are walking on eggshells. The way you carry yourself is a direct reflection of what you believe about yourself. Your posture, your tone of voice, your level of eye contact, the way you walk into a room, all of it communicates something about you before you even say a word. And the truth is, people can read this energy instantly. You don't have to tell them you feel insecure. They can sense it in the way you hesitate before speaking, the way your shoulders slump forward, the way you fidget when you're nervous. Likewise, if you exude confidence, if you move with certainty, if you maintain strong eye contact and stand tall, people automatically respond to you with respect. When you project emotional fragility, it invites a certain kind of treatment. People will either overlook you, take advantage of you, or pity you. But they will not respect you. And if you don't have their respect, you will struggle to have meaningful, fulfilling connections. Because at the core of every strong relationship, whether it's romantic, professional, or social, and respect is not given freely, it is earned through the way you carry yourself. Think about someone who walks into a room with their head held high, shoulders back, moving with purpose. They don't have to announce their presence. Their energy does that for them. They speak clearly. They make deliberate movements. They don't fidget or second guess themselves. When they interact with others, they maintain eye contact. They don't rush their words. They aren't afraid of pauses in conversation. They seem calm, composed, in control. That is power. That is presence. And when people witness that level of self-assurance, they treat that person differently. They listen more attentively. They hesitate before speaking over them. They respect them. Now imagine someone who constantly avoids eye contact, who speaks too softly, who apologizes unnecessarily, who moves as if they're afraid to take up space. That energy signals weakness. It tells the world, I don't believe in myself, and in turn, the world responds accordingly. People ignore them, interrupt them, overlook their ideas. Some may even take advantage of that weakness, manipulating them or treating them as an afterthought. Not necessarily because they are cruel, but because human nature instinctively recognizes and responds to power dynamics. And when you give off the energy of uncertainty, of hesitation, of seeking validation, you place yourself at the bottom of that hierarchy. It doesn't matter how intelligent, kind, or capable you are. If your body language contradicts those qualities, people will believe what they see, not what you say. You may think confidence is an internal trait, something that exists only in the mind, but it is something that must be expressed physically. You cannot just think you are strong. You must embody strength. You cannot just believe you are valuable. You must carry yourself as someone who knows their worth. And this shift is not just about convincing others. It is about convincing yourself. Because when you change your posture, your tone, your presence, you send signals to your own brain that reinforce confidence. There is a reason why people who train in power poses, standing tall, chest open, head high, report feeling more confident, assertive, and capable. Science has proven that body language not only influences how others perceive us, but also how we perceive ourselves. If you constantly make yourself small, if you shrink in social situations, if you avoid taking up space, you are conditioning your mind to see yourself as weak. But when you adopt strong body language, when you walk with purpose, when you move as though you belong wherever you are, you rewire your brain to believe in your own presence, your own authority, your own value. Your voice is another crucial element. People who lack confidence tend to speak in uncertain tones. They end sentences as if they are asking questions. Their voices rise at the end of statements, signaling doubt. They mumble, they hesitate, they trail off mid-sentence, as if afraid their words do not matter. And when they do that, others subconsciously dismiss them. Because if you don't sound like you believe in what you're saying, why should anyone else? The most powerful speakers are not necessarily the loudest, nor do they always have the deepest voices. But they speak with conviction. They do not rush. They are not afraid of silence between words. They trust that what they say carries weight. And because they trust in their own words, others do as well. If you want to command respect, you must learn to control your voice. Speak with purpose. Do not rush your words. Do not soften your statements to avoid offending people. Do not dilute your opinions to please the room. When you speak with certainty, people take you seriously. The way you move, the way you speak, the way you hold yourself. These things shape the way the world interacts with you. If you carry yourself like a person of value, others will treat you as valuable. If you hesitate, shrink, or seek constant validation, others will treat you accordingly. You teach people how to treat you through your presence alone. And while words can be powerful, it is your energy, your confidence, your self-assurance that people truly respond to. Some people believe they need external validation to feel confident, that if only they were loved more, admired more, respected more, they would finally feel strong. But confidence does not come from external approval. It is a state of being that must be cultivated from within. It is not about how others see you. It is about how you see yourself. And the moment you start carrying yourself with the presence of someone who deserves respect, the world will mirror that belief back to you. Your mind is the battlefield where your confidence is either built or destroyed. Every thought you entertain, every belief you reinforce, every story you tell yourself shapes the way you show up in the world. If your mind is filled with self-doubt, if you constantly replay past failures, if you see yourself as unworthy, that perception will bleed into your actions, your body language, and the way you interact with people. But if you learn to take control of your thoughts, if you reprogram your mind to operate from a place of strength, everything about your presence will change. The problem is that most people let their minds run on autopilot. They allow negative thoughts to cycle endlessly, never stopping to challenge them, never questioning whether those thoughts are even true. If you have been conditioned to believe that you are not good enough, not attractive enough, not intelligent enough, those beliefs will continue to shape your reality until you make the decision to change them. Because here's the truth. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you train yourself to develop. It is not a fixed trait. It is a mindset that must be built and maintained daily. And that begins with mastering the way you think. Most of the negative emotions that make you appear weak, self-doubt, insecurity, fear of rejection, come from deeply ingrained beliefs that have gone unchallenged for years. Maybe someone in your past made you feel like you weren't worthy of love or attention. Maybe you were criticized so much that you started doubting yourself. Maybe you were rejected, abandoned, or betrayed. And now you operate from a place of fear rather than strength. But whatever the origin, those experiences do not have to define you. They only continue to shape you if you allow them to. Your mind is like a garden. If you do not actively plant strong, empowering thoughts, weeds will take over. And those weeds, self-doubt, insecurity, limiting beliefs, will suffocate your potential before you even realize it. The key is to become aware of the thoughts you allow into your mind and to take full responsibility for changing them. You must develop the discipline to interrupt negative patterns the moment they arise. When a thought enters your mind that makes you feel small, weak, or incapable, you must stop and ask yourself, is this true? Or is this just an old belief I've been carrying that no longer serves me? The power of the mind is extraordinary, but most people use it against themselves rather than in their favor. They focus on what they lack instead of what they have. They replay painful memories instead of envisioning a better future. They compare themselves to others instead of recognizing their own uniqueness. And in doing so, they weaken their own energy, making them appear fragile, uncertain, and easily influenced. But the moment you shift your mental focus, the moment you start reinforcing empowering beliefs, everything about the way you carry yourself will begin to change. One of the fastest ways to reprogram your mind for confidence is to control your self-talk. The words you say to yourself are more powerful than anything anyone else could ever say to you. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I always mess up, people don't respect me, then that becomes your reality. Your subconscious mind accepts those statements as truth. And your actions begin to align with them. But when you start affirming new beliefs, I am strong, I deserve respect, I am valuable, your mind begins to adjust. You start acting differently, walking differently, speaking differently. And as a result, people start treating you differently. Another critical step is to stop seeking external validation to feel confident. Many people make the mistake of tying their self-worth to how others perceive them. They think, if people approve of me, I'll feel good about myself. If they compliment me, I'll know I'm enough. But the problem with that mindset is that it makes your confidence fragile. It makes you dependent on factors you cannot control. And the moment someone criticizes you, the moment you don't get the reaction you want, your entire sense of self shatters. True confidence comes from within. It is built through knowing who you are, through trusting yourself, through recognizing your own value even when no one else acknowledges it. This is why some people walk into a room and immediately command attention without saying a word. It's not because they are the most attractive, the wealthiest, or the most successful. It's because they believe in themselves on such a deep level that others can't help but respond to that energy. They don't need approval to feel worthy. They don't need validation to feel important. And because they are so secure in themselves, people naturally respect them. The mind is also the key to emotional control. Many people appear weak because they are constantly ruled by their emotions. They let their moods dictate their actions. If they feel anxious, they shrink. If they feel insecure, they avoid eye contact. If they feel rejected, they start chasing people for validation. But when you learn to master your mind, you gain control over it. Many people unknowingly carry themselves in ways that project insecurity. They fidget, they avoid eye contact, they fold their arms protectively, they keep their head down, they move too cautiously. These subtle behaviors send a clear message: I don't fully trust myself. I'm not completely comfortable in my own skin. And when people sense that, they react accordingly. Strong, confident individuals naturally command respect because they exude a sense of self-assurance that cannot be ignored. They stand tall, they move with purpose, they make eye contact with ease, they speak in a way that carries authority. They don't seek permission to exist in a space. They own it. The key to projecting strength is to become conscious of your body language at all times. Most people are completely unaware of how they physically present themselves. They don't realize that they fidget when they're nervous. They don't notice that they keep their hands clasped in front of them as if protecting themselves. They don't realize that they avoid looking people in the eye because they fear confrontation. But once you start paying attention to your own body language, you can begin to correct it. One of the first things you must train yourself to do is stand tall. Your posture is one of the most powerful indicators of confidence or weakness. When you slouch, when your shoulders roll forward, when your head tilts downward, you are signaling to the world that you lack confidence. But when you stand up straight, when you pull your shoulders back, when you keep your chin level, you immediately appear more powerful. This is not just about appearances. Posture directly affects your psychology. Do you move with purpose or do you appear hesitant? Weakness is often revealed in the way people move. If you shuffle your feet, if you take small, timid steps, if you hesitate before entering a room, people will sense that uncertainty. But when you walk with confidence, when you take steady, deliberate steps, when you move as if you know exactly where you are going, you naturally command more respect. Eye contact is another critical factor. Many people struggle with maintaining strong eye contact because they fear being judged. They look away too quickly. They glance downward. They dart their eyes around nervously. But when you avoid eye contact, you appear unsure of yourself. You signal to others that you lack confidence. Strong, steady eye contact conveys authority, self-assurance, and presence. It tells people, I am secure in who I am. I do not fear being seen. This does not mean staring aggressively, but rather holding eye contact long enough to show that you are fully engaged, fully present, and unafraid of connection. Your voice is another giveaway. The way you speak reveals a lot about your inner state. If your voice is too soft, too hesitant, too apologetic, people will sense weakness. If you constantly raise your voice at the end of sentences as if seeking approval, if you speak too quickly out of nervousness, if your tone lacks certainty, it will be hard for people to take you seriously. A strong voice is steady, controlled, and deliberate. It is not about being loud. It is about speaking in a way that commands attention. When you slow down your speech, when you articulate your words clearly, when you allow silence between your sentences, you project confidence. Another powerful tool for exuding strength is controlled gestures. People who are insecure often make small, unnecessary movements, tapping their fingers, shifting their weight, playing with their clothing. These restless movements signal nervousness. Confident people use intentional, controlled gestures. They move their hands in ways that emphasize their points. They do not fidget or make excessive movements. Every motion is deliberate. Breathing also plays a crucial role. When you are nervous, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This fuels anxiety and makes you appear more tense. But when you take deep, steady breaths, when you slow your breathing down, your entire body relaxes. This gives you an aura of calm authority. People who breathe deeply and evenly appear more composed, more in control, and more self-assured. Your energy is something people can feel before you even say a word. Have you ever noticed how some people instantly command attention the moment they walk into a room? It is not because they are the most physically attractive or the most well-dressed. It is because they radiate a certain level of confidence. Their energy is strong, grounded, and unshaken. They do not seek approval. They do not second-guess themselves. They know exactly who they are, and that certainty is felt by everyone around them. This level of presence is something you can cultivate. It starts with awareness. Becoming conscious of how you move, how you stand, how you breathe, how you carry yourself. Once you are aware, you can begin to make adjustments. You can train yourself to move with more certainty, to stand with more authority, to speak with more conviction. And as you do, you will notice a shift in the way people respond to you. They will take you more seriously. They will respect you more. They will sense that you are someone who knows their worth. Your mindset is the foundation of your presence. It dictates how you move, how you speak, how you respond to the world. Weakness is not just something that can be seen in your body. It originates in your thoughts. Every insecurity, every fear, every doubt that lingers in your mind finds a way to manifest itself outwardly. It affects your energy, your aura, the way you carry yourself. People don't just hear your words, they sense your beliefs about yourself. If you think you are not enough, if you secretly believe you are unworthy, if you allow fear to dominate your inner world, it will inevitably show up in how others treat you. A strong mindset is not something you're born with. It is something you develop, something you train yourself to adopt. It starts with what you feed your mind. Your thoughts shape your reality. And if you constantly tell yourself that you are not good enough, that you are weak, that you are less than others, your body will reflect that belief. You will shrink in the presence of others. You will hesitate in your speech. You will avoid confrontation because deep down you do not believe in your own power. But when you begin to shift your thinking, when you start affirming your own strength, when you remind yourself daily that you are capable, that you are valuable, that you are worthy, your entire presence changes. The words you say to yourself in private determine how the world sees you in public. If you look at yourself in the mirror and see someone weak, someone unsure, someone who doesn't measure up, that energy follows you wherever you go. But if you stand in front of that mirror and declare your power, if you remind yourself of your worth, if you speak life into your own identity, your body will follow. Your shoulders will naturally pull back. Your voice will become more steady. Your movements will carry a quiet confidence that demands respect. Reprogramming your mind is an ongoing process. Most people do not realize how much of their self-perception is shaped by past experiences. Maybe someone made you feel small when you were younger. Maybe you were overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed so many times that you began to believe you weren't important. Maybe you were rejected in ways that made you doubt your own value. These experiences leave marks on your subconscious. And if you do not actively work to erase them, they will continue to influence your actions. One of the most powerful ways to reshape your mindset is by changing the way you respond to your own thoughts. When a negative thought about yourself arises, do not accept it as truth. Challenge it. Replace it. If you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, immediately counter it with, I am more than enough. If you start to believe that people don't respect you, tell yourself, I command respect in every space I enter. Your mind will resist at first because it has been trained to doubt, but the more you repeat these affirmations, the more they will become your new reality. Confidence is not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about recognizing who you truly are. It's about understanding that your worth is not dependent on how others see you, but on how you see yourself. When you stop seeking validation from the outside world, when you stop waiting